Okay, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Garland Colson. I'm the conversation architect for Presentation Point. And what that means is I collect customer stories. So any of you who are our customers and you're using our software and you want to share how you're using it, I would love to hear from you. And we'll put our information at the end of the session here, but it's garland@presentationpoint.com. With me today is our founder, Kurt Dupont from Presentation Point. Hello, Kurt.
Hi, Garland. Good morning.
Kurt will be your instructor this morning. So I get to just sit here and drink my coffee and watch Kurt in action, and I get to learn from him. So I'm really looking forward to this. So yeah. I'll turn my screen off and turn it over to you, Kurt.
Yes, I will share my screen on my side so you can have your coffee. It's 6 p.m. for me, so I can have a beer, I guess, in Belgium. Okay.
I will mention to everybody just a moment, Kurt, sorry, this is being recorded, so it will be up on our YouTube channel in a few days later. So if you have any of you have to leave early or want to share this with your colleagues, you'll be able to.
Yes, it will be probably on Monday or something. It will be on the, as a blog article on the website and a video on YouTube. So yeah, good evening, good morning, whatever, good night. I'm Kurt Dupont from Presentation Point, and I'm going to tell you in the next, 45 minutes, how to use PowerPoint for inter-office communications. So let's get started. I have some sad news to start. The Earth is not flat, it's round. So this means that we have time zones, we have different locations, different countries, different cities, states, etc. So it's a challenge to communicate with your colleagues in a company because of those facts. And even it's very hard to do face-to-face communication. So even now with COVID-19, or maybe we can call this already post-COVID-19, hopefully soon, it's even more a challenge to bring your message and instructions to your colleagues. And that's why you have to use some tools to better communicate. So this, as you are a leader, and as a leader, you have to communicate your goals, your deadlines, key performance indicators, etc., to your colleagues and team members. So how can you communicate? You can do this on paper. That's the old-fashioned way. That's something, of course, that we are not going to promote or discuss in this session. You can, of course, send an email to all your colleagues, but probably are getting 300, 400 emails a day, and then it's very hard to get focused on the content of that email. And even an email is not sexy, it's not challenging, it's probably just pure text, it's not appealing as a presentation. So some companies already have a magazine that's an offline print that you can distribute to everyone, and they can have a read in the document or the magazine, and they can have a look at old content, so to say. It's always running behind because it's printed and then running behind. And in the older days, you had the internet. The internet is a solution, a possible solution. You can easily add blog articles and content to the intranet, but it's a passive way. So people have to open a browser and go to the internet website or URL to view the latest information. So it's passive. So we are going to look for a better way to communicate in your office. And you can use something like this. So this is a picture of last year's toilet paper problems that we had in the shops, etc. And you can see here that they are using paper-based messages here on these articles. And that's something, of course, that we are not going to use. This is so old-fashioned. We are going to use it something digitally. This is another example of great communication. It's Sotheby's, the auction house. They are using our software. It's not about message point that we are going to talk about today. This is more data point where you can display real-time information. And I just wanted to show you Something that came up recently. Some 3 years ago, there was Banksy, that mysterious artist that you have in the UK, making graffiti paintings on walls, etc. They were selling or having an auction 3 years ago in October 2018, and they were selling this small painting. It's called Girl with Balloon, and it was sold for 1.2 million euro, so 1.4 million US dollar. It was sold, and during the auction, the painting was shredded, because in the frame of the picture there was a shredding machine, and it was the intention of Banksy to completely shred the image there. Yeah. So somehow the hardware blocked, the shredding machine blocked halfway, and they quickly removed it from the auction there 3 years ago. So now, some 2 weeks ago, they did a new auction on this artwork, and they sold it not for 1.2 million euro or 1.4 million US dollar, but they sold this for 22 million euro or 25 million US dollars. So you see the same painting here in the frame, halfway out, shredded. That's an interesting fact, but here you see DataPoint, that's our software here in action on this television screen, where you see the real-time biddings in the different currencies on the screen. So just as a side note. Regarding communications, this is another great example of a company displaying key performance indicators to personnel. This is what we call, or what they call, digital signage, where you display real-time information. And this is different than what we are going to discuss later on MessagePoint, because this is digital signage, where you have to use dedicated screens and put information and key performance indicators on that screen. MessagePoint is a little bit different, because then you are going to use the existing hardware of every colleague, so the laptop or the desktop, and you are going to show the information there on the system or the hardware that you already have. Here's another example of a slide where you see real-time or information properties about this person, Susan in this case, on the slide. Data maintained by DataPoint and populated automatically. But now, of course, we are going to MessagePoint. It's a product that we already had before, but we have added an enterprise edition, a more flexible, more elegant enterprise edition of MessagePoint to the MessagePoint product family. So basically, the idea is that you use screensavers to communicate your message to your colleagues. So like you can see here on the screen. So why would you use a screensaver? A good example is quote of the day. So you can display, when is a screensaver kicking in? First of all, you go to a meeting, you go to get a coffee, you come back to your machine, and then a screensaver is playing. Sometimes it's those balloons that you see on the screen, or a ticker text that you see, like good morning and so on, but you can do better. So you can create PowerPoint presentations where you have a slide for every message, yeah? And then you can send out that information to everyone in the group. So you can use a quote of the day to motivate people in the office. So you can change it every day on that specific slide and re-upload that presentation to the screensaver functionality of MessagePoint. Another example of why you should use a screensaver is, for example, employee of the month or personnel update. So maybe you have new people starting to work in a given department of the company, or people retirements, promotions, anniversaries, etc. Anything HR, human resource communication that you have in the company, you can put on one or multiple slides. It's always interesting to inform people about new employees, what the function is, department, and so on, and experience. And a picture, of course, that's very typical for new employees. What you also can do is you can announce new products, or if you have existing products, you can add new features or emphasize new features that were implemented for this product to let your colleagues know about this new feature. And of course, in sales environments, you can tell people how the company is doing, how many sales that you are doing of every product, or maybe in every country or every state and so on. Or maybe you can announce a large order. If you have a large order coming in, you can create a slide and display that big news, that positive news for everyone on the screensaver channel. Production updates. In factories, you have to motivate people by displaying targets, key performance indicators, and information, any information on the production in the factory. Also important is customer feedback. Sometimes in some companies, you get feedback from customers that some feature is not well explained in the documentation, or not obvious, or they are using it the wrong way or whatsoever, or maybe you get some defects back on a specific product. So you get customer feedback, and that information you can turn in a slide again and display that information to the customer, to the colleagues, so that they can learn directly from the customer and make better products in the future. Another option is that you can use the customer stories and display that as a case study on a slide where you show a company or a customer using your product, how it is using, what the benefits are, and so on. So you can display case studies. Key performance indicators is, of course, very important in a production environment, in a sales environment. You have to display targets, you have to motivate people to get the targets, and so on. So you have to measure it, and of course, display this in real time on the screen so that everyone is working for the same goal.
Kurt,
and of course, yeah, sure.
We did have a question. I just thought we might want to answer it. I don't know if you want to answer it right now or you want to wait till the end.
We can pick it up now.
Sure. So Jane has asked, everybody's working remotely and don't connect to the VPN. Will we still be able to push screensaver messages to them?
Yes, that's an option. You can choose to install the server part on a local machine. If you have a VPN, then it's working fine. Yeah. But what you also can do is you can have a subdomain, like for instance, MessagePoint or screensaver.mycompany.com. That can be hosted somewhere in a data center, and that's how you can upload and then download again for all the people that are not connected directly to the server system. But I would say that most companies will have a VPN connection to the server because they have to use the files from the file system and so on. But it's definitely an option if you would place a subdomain on a VPS, maybe in a data center. Yes.
Thanks.
Perfect.
And, I have another question. Sorry. Gail says, is there a mobile device option?
Not yet. At the moment, not. It's coming. It's in the pipeline. It's definitely coming. But that's a different story because you have Android, you have the iPhone family. It's a little bit different.
Okay, thanks.
But it's in the pipeline. It's definitely something that we want to implement probably next year. Yes. Then we continue.
Thanks.
You can always interrupt me, Garland, if you see something on the chat. I'm not looking at the chat. Okay. I'm completely focused on my presentation here. And of course, you can display a message from the CEO. So maybe you have a weekly update or a monthly motivational speech from the CEO, or maybe the head of the department and so on. That's something, of course, that you always can include in a presentation. And I think this is the last example, of what I wanted to show, what you can use in a screensaver, but the sky is the limit here. I mean, you can add additional information, you can add additional slides and show whatever you want to display. Maybe next events or Christmas celebrations in the company and so on. So you can always make announcements and events, training sessions that you maybe have in the company that you want to bring into the picture and so on. So that's always possible. So the sky is the limit here in this, what you can put on a screensaver. Even video and pictures is very good possible there. Okay, so we move to the next slide. I said it before, we already had a MessagePoint solution, and that's then for the standard edition. So what we have on the left, the standard edition of MessagePoint is basically a screensaver solution that you install on a computer. That's ideal for small companies and individuals. The screensaver is not converted into screensaver format. It's basically running as a native PowerPoint. That has an advantage that you can run and send over and display a presentation or a new update on the presentation very quickly, because there is no rendering time that we need on the server side. So we are sending the native PowerPoint files to the clients there of the standard edition. So that's very easy. I mean, you place the PowerPoint presentation on a network share somewhere, and then you have on the client, you have the standard edition of MessagePoint. It's looking at the server file and copying locally the presentation and then starting that presentation as a screensaver. On the other side, we have that new Enterprise edition, and that's then more ideal for mid to large size companies. So you can still do the design completely in PowerPoint as a PowerPoint PPTX file as before, but now you have the option to choose. You can choose to display and run the screensaver as a native PowerPoint file. So if you are choosing this option, you need to have PowerPoint on the client machine, and that's probably not a problem, because typically you have PowerPoint installed as it is part of Microsoft Office. But if you choose this option, you need to have PowerPoint on the machine. Maybe in some environments you're not using Office that much on the client computers, and then you have now this new option where we convert the PowerPoint into screensaver format on the server for you. So we are sending out the screensaver file. So you upload a PowerPoint presentation, and we convert this into a screensaver file, and then we are distributing that screensaver file to all the clients. So we are not talking about PowerPoint anymore. So there is no requirement, if you choose this option, there is no requirement to install PowerPoint on the client machines. And of course, Enterprise, the name says it, it's central management from one location. You can manage all the computers that you have in the network. You can manage your channel or department. We will see this later on. So you can set up a channel. Basically, it's like YouTube. Excuse me. On YouTube, you also have different channels. So you have cooking, you have holidays, you have pets, etc. And you have subscribers on a channel. Here as well, you as an admin for MessagePoint, you define what channels and departments that you have in the company, and you say which people or who is working in a specific department. So that you can send out a presentation or a message, a PowerPoint file to a specific department, because the message or the screensaver that you're sending to the accounting department is completely different than the presentation that you're going to send to the salespeople. So you can manage the screensaver, you can manage the wallpaper options. Yeah, so you can manage or send out images that are used as a wallpaper. So no more pets and wife and children. If you want to have real branding for your company, maybe again, if you want to display a quote of the day or employee of the month, or just the logo in the top right corner, and then maybe blue or something, if that's the company color, you can brand or create a slide, a JPEG, and then send that out as a wallpaper. Same for the login image. When you launch your machine, you have to log onto the system, and then you have also a background image there, the login image. That's something that you can manage centrally as well. And of course, next to the screensaver, the wallpaper, and the login image, you can send text notifications. So you can send, for instance, an important message to everyone of a specific department. Or maybe you want to send a message to everyone. That's possible with the send notification. And we will see an example of this later on. And of course, you will have some statistics. So you can see how many views you had on a specific screensaver. So that's information that you can see on the application later on. Okay, so first of all, standard edition. I've explained it already. You have a server side. It's not a component. It's not a software component that you have, but it's just a file share, a network share, where you place the presentation that you are going to send out to all the PresentationPoint standard edition clients. So for instance, here for this company, you have 4 computers, 4 people working and using PresentationPoint. They are listening to a specific file server file, and PresentationPoint is copying over the file and then displaying that PowerPoint file natively on the 4 PCs here. So that's the standard edition. So typically, when you look at here, the left image, if you go to your control panel or you right click on your desktop and you say customize, you get here to this screensaver settings form where you can choose bubbles, text marquee, and so on, or images. And here you select PresentationPoint 4.0 standard edition as the active screensaver. You can set the wait time. So this is 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes of idle time on your computer, the screensaver kicks in and it will start a presentation. What presentation? Okay, that we can specify. So we click on the settings button here, and then you get this picture on the right. So you can say, this is the presentation from the network share that I want to use. And you see here, this is C users John Doe, but typically this would probably be a network mapped drive to a file server where you grab the presentation from. So typically this would be a reference to this file here on a file server, and this is how it is saved locally. So this, you don't have to specify, it's a default temporary folder where we store the presentation that we are going to display as a screensaver. And then you see some options on how to end the screensaver. And typically by default, a screensaver is always ended by a hit on the keyboard or by a mouse move. Yeah? So sometimes people are more reading the content on the slides, and they maybe want to choose to disable the terminate on mouse move, so that you really have to hit a key or hit the escape key on the keyboard to physically end the screensaver. So that's an option that you can set there. And then you have some license information, and you have product information with the version number. And that's basically it, what you have on the standard edition. So it just plays a native PowerPoint file from the server. So if you move to the enterprise edition now, you see here the server side, and here we have something, a component, a PresentationPoint component that we are installing on the server. Yeah. And then you have on client side, for every department or team or group of people, you will have a client installation, a small file that you have to install on the client machines to do the synchronization. So how does this work? For the server side, you get a setup, you just launch the setup, default folder is fine, and it's finished. That's all what you have to do. In this, during this setup, the system is installing a small database to store, where we store the information internally. You don't see this, but it's of course stored somewhere. Who is using the system, what files that you have, and so on. So that goes into the database. And as well, you have on the server side, you have a web application, a small web application that you use to upload files and assign users and departments and so on. So after the installation on the server part now, you can see here that we have added a MP icon. So this is the MP application, or the MP icon that you see there. If you already have a few icons in the notification area is what you have on Windows computers in the right lower corner there, where you see the time. You can always bring that message point icon into the active or always on or always displayed area here, just by dragging it down from that list here into the next to this network icon there, so that it's always visible. So then you get something like this. So here we see the message point on the server part. When you right click on this, you can exit. That's of course something that you don't do typically, but you can do, or you can change some settings and you can go to the cockpit. The cockpit is an interesting option to view what is happening on the server and so on. So first of all, the settings, you click settings and then you get something like this. So first you see information on the database. It's just if you want to move the database to another location or another name, you can change it here, etc. But you have to specify the name of the SQL server. That's a default value. The name of the database, MP40. That's of course, again, default value. You can choose the logon option that you use on a database, but typically it's Windows NT and integrated security that we use there. You can specify the resolution that we are going to use for the screensaver files. And here, this is a little bit the same as YouTube or video rendering. You have small videos, they are small in size, they are quickly rendered and quickly sent out to the customers or the viewers. The higher that you go, like for instance, the Ultra HD that you have here, the option here, it's quite massive there in a number of pixels. It takes a lot longer to render the movies or the screensavers from the uploaded PowerPoint presentation. That's just something that you have to take into account. Good news here, even if you had set the or chosen the Ultra HD option here, so the long running rendering process for the screensaver files, then still MessagePoint is going to render first all of the PowerPoint presentations for the standard edition or the standard video first. After that, it will create the HD version, then the full HD version, and then finally the Ultra HD. Why do we do this? We want to make sure that if you have uploaded a new presentation, we quickly do the standard video. And it's not a nice resolution. It's fine on most PCs. It's not using every pixel of the screen, but it's a very good quality already that you have on the system. So why do we do this? To as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, to generate the PowerPoint presentation, or sorry, the screensaver file for you so that you can send out the information. So we are, while this is running on a few PCs already as the standard video, the first users of this, yeah, we are going to upgrade that video. So when we have the HD version ready, the customers or the clients running the standard video that receive the standard video already are upgraded automatically to the HD version, later on the full HD, and then the Ultra HD. So basically, there is no disadvantage of switching and going higher in resolution. It's just that you start with a little lower resolution when you are just the first user after the upload of the presentation. So it's the duration of the rendering process is hard to predict, but you can imagine something. So if you run the presentation as a slideshow, and the slideshow is taking 3 minutes to display all the slides, then you can say that for the full HD version here, we also need some 3 minutes to render this video. So if this is 3 minutes, the Ultra HD will probably take 5 or 6 minutes. The HD is probably 1 minute, and the standard video is probably 15 seconds. That's something that you can just to give you an idea. Okay, so then you have this option here, automatically start MessagePoint control panel. When a user logs into the system, that's passed on so that it's always running after booting the system. And you can choose if I double click the MP icon, I want to do nothing, or I can open the setting file, or I can open the cockpit. So that's something that you can choose there. Okay, so this was the form for the settings. If I click the cockpit, then I arrive on this form. It's a small dashboard, so to say, where you see everything that is happening on the system. So these are the default values. There's no channels, no users yet, no users running the screensaver. I have no files yet, no text notifications sent, etc. So this is the default setting that I have when I have installed the system on my computer. If you have defined the channels, the users, the uploaded files, etc., these numbers will of course increase. And here you can see the status of the rendering process. So if you have uploaded 2 PowerPoint presentations, you will see here immediately after this, unrendered files 2. And then it will say rendering status. It's waiting for a job because everything is rendered. There was nothing to render anymore. So you can see rendering now for this presentation. So that's what you can see there. You can see the number of views today, the number of views of the screensaver yesterday. You can see how many text notifications were sent and read and still undelivered and so on of today and tomorrow. Yesterday. And you can see how much disk space that you're using, how many data space that you're using on the server side. So this is just a cockpit. The only thing that you can do is close, or here click the about, where you can set and enter the license information. Client-side installation is almost the same. It's just a setup. You click next, you confirm the location, next, and then it's finished. So what we install here is a very small program again. It's something, again, that MP icon that goes into the notification area and that you can open from there. So if you open the settings file, you can say what the machine name is, where you have the PresentationPoint server component installed on the system. So this could be a machine name or a IP address. Or in this case, I've created a subdomain for my company. So I have, for this case, I could have a VPS running a virtual private server in a data center, and I can set up this subdomain to serve my screensavers. So this is an option that you see here. You can change some background options here, the default Windows background options that you have. And again, here as well, you can say to start automatically with the system, with the boot, when the computer boots, and you can say what you want to do when you double click the MP icon. When you hit the test button, it's verifying the connection to this URL just to confirm that a PresentationPoint server component is listening on the other side and is saying, okay, you're fine to connect. Okay, so here you see the MP icon, the PresentationPoint icon again on the client side, where you have the settings that we discussed on the previous slide, and you have a channel. When you click channel, you see you activate the screensaver immediately without waiting for the screensaver idle time. So if you have missed the screensaver, or you have ended the screensaver too fast because you had to look up some information on email or something, you can always click this channel option there to launch the screensaver or the content, the presentation then manually. Also interesting is to know that you have a small light on or bullet here on the IP icon. Orange, it will be when you launch the system. It's synchronizing every minute and listening to the server every minute. So at startup, it has an unknown situation or an unknown communication status. That's the orange light. You get a red light if somehow the other side is down, or if you have no internet connection to the server machine and so on. Or if there's another generic problem. So that's red. But normally it's always green. So green means connected. I'm connected to the PresentationPoint server component and I'm listening to whatever they are sending to me. Okay, so then the web application. So on the server side, you also get this web application that you can launch there locally on the machine, but of course, as well, open from any location in the network. So you as an admin, it's only intended for admins, the administrators of the channels, or the admin, the global admin for the MessagePoint application. So you go to this MessagePoint website, you log on as admin, and then you get to this kind of YouTube application where you see all the channels that you have in the factory or the company. So you can have production, sales, accounting, research and development, management, and so on and so on. So you can define channels for every department or team that you have in the company. So you just click add channel here and you can add one. When you open the properties of a channel, you can see what was uploaded as the video file or the presentation file here. So this here you can see that only one presentation was uploaded and that this is the excuse me, the screensaver that is running on the client machines at the moment. If you go into the properties of a channel, you can give the channel a name and a description, and you can give a profile image and a banner image. So the profile image is this MP icon here in this screenshot, and the banner image is this larger one that you see there. I need to drink something. Okay, so on a channel, so we discussed already the profile image and the banner image that you can set here. And then you have basically three options. So you can choose for this channel, for instance, production, where you have all the members, all the employees that are working or related to production. They are in here in this group. And you can manage the screensaver, the lock screen, or the background, the wallpaper images. And you just switch it on, these options. So when you switch on the lock screen option there, you can, so that's the login image that you are seeing when you boot the system. You can here click this icon, you can browse to the JPEG that you want to upload and send out, and that's how you use that information here. For the wallpaper or the background, you just enable this option, and then you can choose for the background type, you can choose for a fixed color. So you can say, I want to have a green color and this hex value displayed on as a wallpaper. You can choose a one picture, so you can choose this picture there, or you can use a slideshow of pictures. And that's probably, or what I use the most, it's a slideshow. So when I choose slideshow here, I can upload or select multiple files, multiple images, multiple JPEGs in this slideshow, and I can say how long one image should be displayed. So you can choose every minute and next slide in the slideshow, or maybe 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatsoever, but you can display a slideshow of images as wallpaper. If you want to upload a presentation for the screensaver, then you click here, upload file here on the left side, or just like YouTube, you click upload file here from the top. So you upload the file, the PowerPoint file here, you see the progress of the uploading here. You can give it a title and a description. Optionally, you can set some tags separated by comma. You can specify the channel here. You can choose for production or sales, etc. And you can make it public or maybe still private at this time. And then you can make it declare public later on when you have verified some content or waiting maybe for the evening to display something or announce something. So when you click save changes, that information goes back to the database and is sent out to the clients. Okay, so if you install the client component on the different locations, on different workstations, then you see that small MP icon there with probably a green light bulb there on the icon. The first time you use the system, the user is added to the PresentationPoint server, but it's not assigned, of course, to a channel because we are not aware of where a person is working. So the first time that the client is running, it will add its username where it's logged on with to this here. So you click on unassigned users and you get a list of all the colleagues that are not attributed to a channel yet. So we have no channel name, so we don't know that Jane Doe is working for finance, for instance. So that's something that you have to do here just once. So you open Jane Doe and you assign Jane to a specific channel. So then Jane Doe is removed from this list and is then available on the channels as users there or subscribers there. So this is when you open Jane Doe, you open just Jane Doe and you say, this is the channel where I am going to send you to. And you can declare a channel, a user as a channel administrator so that he or she can also log on to the PresentationPoint web application to manage this channel. Okay, so then you can click on this icon here from the home web application, the home page. You get here, here you see now the users that you have on this channel. So we are now looking at the channel named default. That's probably a name that you are not going to use. So this is going to be production, for instance. So at videos, you can see all the video files that or the presentations that you have uploaded. And here you can see the subscribers that you have for this channel. And here you see the subscriber count of 2.
Kurt, we do have a question in chat.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the question from Hal is it possible to schedule messages for future and or regular distribution?
Yes and no, not for presentations, but we have an option where you can run a text sticker on top of a slideshow. And there you have the option to schedule a message, for instance, for 6 p.m. this evening. And I can show this if it's not included in this on these slides. But it's not as part of the scheduling is not part of the presentations themselves, but just when you set a text as a text marquee or a text sticker on the channel itself. And there you have the scheduling option. Yes?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. So then remember that functionality where you can send notifications. Here you click send text on the left from the menu. You can send a title and you have a body. So just like a mail, you have a subject and you have the body. Here for the notifications of PresentationPoint, you have a title and you have the text or body there. You can see or select one or all channels or multiple channels from the list there at the bottom. And then when you click send, you are sending out a message to everyone immediately, so you don't have to wait for the screensaver to kick in, but you can send important messages about new products launches or large sales, etc., directly to everyone that you have selected from the channels. So this is a nice feature. Maybe also as well that it can be used for emergencies and so on. Okay, so this is basically the presentation on PresentationPoint, and PresentationPoint is going to make a better leader of you because you can use great Interoffice communication tools to bring your message, your goals, your challenges, or maybe just HR communication to your employees. You know? And just to give you an idea on pricing, the standard edition that starts from €3 or $3 for a user for a month. The enterprise edition, where you get much more features like the text messages that you can send, the screensavers that you can use as screensaver format, and so on, different channels. That starts with €5 or $5 a user a month. The fee goes down when you add more users to the system. So this is just the price for one user. Yeah. And then we have a special discount for the viewers of this webinar. We can give you a coupon code for 50% discount on every MessagePoint license that you buy before November 1. That's next Monday. So if you are interested in using MessagePoint, you can always use the 15-day free trial. It's very easy for MessagePoint because it's not that complex like iPoint or DataPoint that we have. But you can take advantage of this special discount and just use the coupon code webinar 10/20/21, so October 2021, on your checkout, and then you can get 50% discount. More information can be found on the website. So we have presentationpoint.com/software/MessagePoint. There you can find all the information of MessagePoint Standard Edition and Enterprise Edition. And from there also, you can download the 15-day free trial to play and install on your system. Are there new questions, Garland, for us?
No, John had to leave. He said apologies, has to leave. Really good stuff, though, he said. So that was one there. One thing I'll mention for notifications like this that I think would be really useful is when your company or organization has publicity happening, good or bad. Like if your company's been mentioned in the news, in a good way, you want to celebrate that. But if your company has been mentioned in a bad way, where there's horrible things going on or that kind of thing, this would be a really great way to tell everybody, okay, we've been featured in the news with this problem. Here's our CEO's reply to it. Here's how you handle questions from reporters, like meaning refer them to the PR department or refer them to the CEO. So that would be a really great way to get information out quickly in an emergency situation.
Yeah, damage control. Yeah, and definitely as well for security and evacuations, alerts, and so on.
Yeah, and I love welcoming new people. I think that's just a great option because when you're new in a company, often you feel kind of isolated. So seeing your face showing up in a screen and some comments about you and welcome, everybody's welcome, knows who you are. I think that's a really nice way to welcome people.
And a very interesting and compared to iPoint or digital signage solutions, etc., is that you don't have to use dedicated screens or new screens, large smart TVs that you hang in the offices and the factories, etc. You just use the software on existing hardware that you have already at the fingertips.
And that's a really great point. You don't have to buy screens, you don't have to buy players, because it's really, I like to word this as you're turning your existing computer network into a company-wide broadcasting system. So it's really a powerful tool for doing that. And I can see where there's some real benefits to doing that.
When you install MessagePoint, you get this sample presentation. It's just a sample, but it's just maybe to give you an idea of what you can include in a typical screensaver here. So you have this, a picture of a lady here, new employee, Sarah Stanton, 26 years, etc. And she is starting to work at that department. A big warm welcome, Sarah, as well. So that's a warm welcome. If you have an office party, you can display the images from the office party and show it like this. Vision and mission is, of course, a very good slide or a message that you have to include in the presentation. And then here as well, you have the message from the CEO, a weekly update, monthly update, and so on. So typically what you would expect in a magazine some 20 years ago, a magazine of the company, but this is more attractive, more appealing as a screensaver now. So this is security information.
Yeah, I can see safety messages being another one. Safety, and even computer security. I mean, so many companies are being hit with cyber attacks and ransomware now. Like, reminding people about the safety aspects of the company would be important.
Be careful with attachments. Don't open this. Don't do this. It's a repetition of messages, the typical messages that you have. And this a good example for this is banks. They have to communicate instructions and threads that are running and so on on an hourly basis, so to say.
So any other questions, comments from those of you who didn't have to go to your next meeting or get back to work? So, any final questions before we end the presentation?
Let me still show the coupon code here.
I also dropped it into the chat so people
Okay,
can copy and
perfect.
paste it as well. So,
Yeah.
although it's fairly easy to remember.
Yes, it is. And you can expect already the next coupon code for November.
Right. Okay, well, I don't think there's any questions there, Kurt. So I think we can probably end the presentation for people. Thanks so much for listening. Judith says no further questions. Great presentation. Thank you. Jay Erickson says thanks, Kurt and Garland. Sorry I was late. So
no problem.
A few comments.
Thanks for having you all.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, this has been recorded, so it will be available in the YouTube channel for those of you who were late, or those of you who would like to share it with your colleagues. So.